What is up, my friends? How are you guys doing today? Welcome back. Thanks for stopping in. Hope wherever you're at and whatever you're doing, you are striving and you are thriving and loving yourself and the ones you're with. Guys, today we're talking about a movie from 2018 called The Dwarves of Demrel, directed by Mr. Chris Raney. Guys, I watched this while I was in my hotel room for the state championship. And I can just say that even though this was not a masterpiece, this was not something that I would say a lot of people would like if they watched it, I appreciated it for what they were trying to do. And I'm going to tell you what that is here in just a second. Hit that like and subscribe button for me, because this takes the premise of a disaster movie and sets it in a fantasy world of politics and corruption and basically the government not caring about safety measures for people they consider lesser than themselves. And they take basically a cave-in type movie where we would normally see someone like Antonio Banderas or someone like that, like going into these mines to pull the survivors out. This is set in a setting of dwarves who are mining for this capital city of humans, and they have a cave-in, and the dwarves are trapped underneath this cave-in with these creatures. And these creatures, they're kind of like, they're blind because they live in the darkness and all that. But what I thought was really interesting, and this is another case of the director uses the technique of less is more. And they also use they're shooting inside real caves using natural light. And that hinders it, in my opinion, because we've had other films like The Descent that show what dynamic lighting and cinematography can do in a very claustrophobic cave setting. We've seen that in other films, but at the same time, I feel like these are first-time filmmakers. So when Chris Raney is making this film, he also doesn't have the budget of a major studio film. So he's working with what he's got, and I think he does an excellent job of taking a fantasy setting that is normally epic and grand in fashion and condensing it down to a claustrophobic rescue story of some trapped dwarven miners. That's genius to me. That is innovative, because you use your imagination to come up with things like this. You use your brain. This isn't ChatGPT telling you what you want to hear to make you're prompting it. This is a guy who was sitting in his house and he said, I love dwarves and I love mountains and I live near mountains and I think I can tell a pretty cool dwarf story. And you know what? I think I'm going to film it. And they get it kickstarted, and the guy goes out and he makes an absolute gem of a film. It's a slow burn. There's not a lot of action. There's not, but there is intrigue. There is enough there in the darkness to keep you guessing, to keep you engaged and wondering, what is this thing that's coming after them? Why do we hear growls in the darkness? Why do some of these dwarves not like the other dwarves? There's like, racism in there for it. It's very interesting kinds of storytelling in a very small setting. Excuse me one second, guys. Apologize for that, guys. My poor old beagle needed to go relieve herself. But anyway, guys, let's get back into it. The thing is, he makes such a good film with so little in such an enclosed space, small settings. The acting is top-notch for the most part. I mean, I've never heard of any of these people in my life, but they give great performances. There's only 3 people in the entire film. There's 3 dwarves. One dwarf is like an old guy who is basically, he worked in the capital with the humans as a bookkeeper, and so the other dwarves are kind of like prejudiced against him. They think that he, works for them. He's the one who maybe had caused the collapse, trying to, do something the humans wanted him to do. It has very interesting, like, socio-political themes. It explores a lot of, like, I guess, thematic elements that you wouldn't normally see in a fantasy movie like that, but it's very almost steampunk and realistic in a way. And I appreciated the way that he crafted this film. I can't say enough about it. It's also known as the Dwarves of Dragonsgate. That's what it was listed as on Prime, but when you go to look it up other places, it's called the Dwarves of Demrel. So, if you have a problem finding it, that may be the reason why. Overall, though, guys, this is definitely something, if you're a fan of fantasy films, Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy comic books, whatever, this is something you should check out just for the uniqueness of it. It's something that I've never seen, and I'm glad that I've watched. Also, the special effects in this are great. The monster that is, accosting these dwarves in these dark tunnels, when you finally do get the big reveal, it's not a CGI monster. It's not a, it's a person in a suit with intricate and very cool looking prosthetics and makeup. And it's cool. So you can tell that this was also a labor of love. And I loved the fact that it was just that. Because I loved it for its uniqueness. And I think that you will too, my friends. Give it a shot. You can find it streaming on Prime or Tubi. It's well worth your time. And guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me and talking for just a little bit about it. Hit that like and subscribe button on the way out. And as always, I'm going to keep making them as long as you keep watching them. Peace out. God bless you, my friends. And I will see you next time.